It is said he came from another place, the sky maybe, a star, that he was a younger son and would not inherit territory, and so he came here to find his own, long ago. That quote was from the Godzilla King of the Monsters novelization when describing Monster Zero, Ghidorah. This information has been around for some years now, but has hardly been spoken about in the community of MonsterVerse fans. The Ghidorah that overwhelmed planet Earth, mankind, and Godzilla was an outcast who was weaker, smaller, and younger than the others in his royal family. Hard to believe after seeing the monster tear Earth's atmosphere and Godzilla's arse all to hell. The devil with 3 heads left his home, in search of a place where he could feel powerful and like a true ruler, came to Earth. His low rank in his own family's hierarchy tore at the monster's pride and ego. And conquering Earth is how he could finally feel what true dominance, the feeling his other family members had, truly was. In this video, we are going to theorize what Ghidorah's family was really like, and why he felt the need to run away from home in order to get what he always wanted: power. Subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all our theories, and go check out the brand new podcast called The Beast Hub that myself and Joe from Goji Center are working on. Tons of cool discussions there that otherwise wouldn't be great for YouTube videos, so go check us out, link below. So before we get into this, as with every theory video, we are expanding upon the known lore with what we think could be the truth in this fantasy world. And keep in mind that this is indeed just a theory. That being said, let's move on. Ghidorah was a weaker and younger son in his family's royal line. Similar to real-world royalty, the Ghidorah species must have had a culture and society that allows certain members of the species to claim the crown for their own, and rule that territory until the day they die. Simply due to his age and having siblings who were born before him, he would never rule. This implies that Ghidorah has parents, or at least one parent, that is still likely the true King Ghidorah in this MonsterVerse lore. After that one supreme ruler, as many siblings that were needed to fill the territory of the Dragon Empire were born before the Ghidorah that we know came into existence. For the sake of envisioning this theory, picture the King Ghidorah ruling a planet that's harsh and extreme. Volcanoes cover the entirety of its surface, and a reddish golden hue covers the entire land. In one of the old Toho lore lines, Ghidorah actually came from the planet Venus. So for the sake of continuity, let's imagine the Ghidorah home planet in the MonsterVerse resembling something like Venus. There the King Ghidorah reigns supreme, but its kind were not done expanding there. Our own solar system has 8 planets, and while we can never know what this fictional system that the Ghidorahs came from has within it, let's just say that there are 8 planets there as well. Each of them having one of Ghidorah's elder siblings ruling the lands. There could even be more of his family members before him who also have no territory of their own coming their way, but are at the top of the line when one of the ruling siblings perishes. The lore stated that he never had a chance at gaining territory, so for all we know, Ghidorah could be the 15th infant or even further down the family line of hierarchy. For creatures that appear to never age or die due to mortal reasons, the only way Ghidorah could gain territory of his own was if he was able to kill one of his family members and take their land for his own. Being much younger, however, the likelihood of Ghidorah being able to overthrow one of his elder siblings or parents seems highly unlikely. And even if he did, who's to say the rest of the family wouldn't see this treachery as an insult and bring war to Ghidorah? That would be a battle the monster simply couldn't win. So his only option was to leave his kind's home solar system and find a new place where he could finally be in control and be the dominant being. Ghidorah in this theory is like the egocentric spoiled son in a line of super wealthy and powerful individuals, that while his life was just fine probably, couldn't be happy with not being the one in the spotlight all the time. He wanted others to bow to him and to flatter his ego, but to his family and species members, they all thought of him as nothing more than a joke, an outcast. From there, you know what happened to Ghidorah. He traveled through space, either hitching a ride on an asteroid, or using some sort of physics-breaking power to open a wormhole and shoot him somewhere in the galaxy. There's also the chance he actually flew all the way through space, as it is implied Ghidorah doesn't breathe oxygen as we know it, but this seems highly implausible even in a YouTuber's fantasy world theory. That's a long distance for a monster to fly, man. Ghidorah made it to Earth eventually though, waged war with Godzilla and the other titans, was frozen in his icy tomb for eons, and then awoken just to be killed by Godzilla. Ghidorah's consciousness survived within his physical skulls that still remained, and his spirit was flushed into Mechagodzilla. When the power from the Hollow Earth amplified this telepathic connection, Ghidorah himself came back to life in a way, gaining just enough of his past self to understand and continue his plan for domination. Luckily for everyone else, the mechanical beast had a super weakness: cheap liquor apparently. In Mechagodzilla, Ghidorah was once again put to death. But who's to say that before he perished, that the mechanized monster using technology like satellites to control his body in the first place didn't send a message signal out to the vastness of space, traveling for an undetermined amount of time in an unfathomable distance, all the way back to Ghidorah's home solar system. A hard to believe idea, but not impossible in this universe, I think. Could his siblings or even King Ghidorah hear this call for help? Before we get into this, let's open our thoughts and minds and try to describe what the rest of Ghidorah's family could have even looked like. The variation of these creatures could be vast, something like what the MonsterVerse hints at with Godzilla's species. Ghidorah's iconic three-headed design could be unique to him. It's possible that there could be members of his kind who have much more heads, or maybe even less. Ghidorah towers over Godzilla, but he could be half the size of some of his older and more developed siblings, and I'm sure there are those who were smaller than him as well. In my world, I like to think of all of them retaining the iconic dragon-like appearance, and have some sort of wings. However, some could have arms and wings, and not the classic armless winged approach that we see with all the Ghidorah variations over the decades. Some could be four-legged and powerful, others could have a long, snake-like body. If you think of Ghidorah as a representation for a dragon, then all the forms of dragons found all over the world in human culture could be represented within the various members of this monster's family and species. Perhaps just like fantasy dragons, the Ghidorah's family were very diverse in not just their appearance but also their personalities and morals. Ghidorah is the classic villain dragon template who's hell-bent on conquering new lands for his own. But maybe he had some siblings who were honorable and lived to a strict moral code. Perhaps some were loners and just wanted to be left alone in their lairs, and maybe some did their best to keep peace between their worlds. Just because Ghidorah was an evil monster in the movie doesn't mean the rest of his kind would be the same way. A solar system ruled by mighty, gigantic dragons sounds like a cool premise to me. Now that we have an idea of Ghidorah's species, would any of them come to check in on Ghidorah if they received a strange distress signal from their long-lost relative? There is this slight chance that another salty species member of his own would one day grow tired of never getting territory just like him and set out like he did, possibly stumbling down the same route as Ghidorah and finding Earth. But until we know how Monster Zero found Earth, the likelihood of another member of its kind finding Earth would be extremely slim, unless the signal somehow gave Earth's exact location, or in the MonsterVerse Ghidorah actually does come from Venus, which would imply that he's gonna get to Earth pretty quick. We already know that the royal Ghidorah family left in charge would have no interest in leaving their own territory in hopes of finding their sibling who long ago betrayed them for his own gain. That is, of course, if the planets that these species ruled were still in a position that could support these creatures. It would take something drastic happening to get one of them to leave their own solar system, I think. The King Supreme Ghidorah or any of his offspring would not waste their time searching the galaxy unless the place they called home had been destroyed. That being said, if Big Daddy King G came to Earth, possibly looking to utilize the insane power of the Hollow Earth, it would take all the Titans of Earth to stop it. Sound familiar, anyone? Just like any good alien invasion, you can stop the first wave, but it's only a matter of time before the next one is right back at your doorstep again. But could this even work in the future of the MonsterVerse? With 2 new shows and a movie in development, the MonsterVerse is growing nicely and almost any idea could be brought to life in this fictional universe. Personally, I think the Ghidorah storyline needs to take a break, but if the MonsterVerse wants to throw in a graphic novel called King Ghidorah as a way of fleshing out Ghidorah's story in this universe, I could see it working pretty well with the fans, and I would love that. In terms of the movies or TV, it may be some time before a wild theory like this one would come to life, but it is certainly a possibility. How would you like to see Ghidorah and his species brought back into the MonsterVerse? Let us know down below in the comments. Subscribe and hit the bell if you haven't already if you think I earned your attention, and share this around with your monster-loving friends. Don't forget to check out the Beast Hub, links to that down below. And as always, this has been Jacob, and I will see you in the next one.